I will shut the company. In Malayalam, I know Unrandamoolanala.
In Tamil also it's same.
Same,
It's
okay.
almost one and
Right. One of the things that has taught me is that if you attach yourself to something that is growing, you will grow exponentially. I said, how do you create happiness while working? For that, there are 4 pillars that I've created, and that's the happiness pillar. I think capital follows you if you have the right business.
The roller coaster thing that you have mentioned also, like the ride is always like that.
As a founder, what you need to do,
So one of the major struggles I have been facing in this entire space was finding talent.
if you give them an opportunity to excel in what they love to do, 95% of people globally cannot join jobs.
Be it any job, like it be it IT, creative, design, or even blue collar jobs. What do you think?
You can't be everything for everybody. But what Zomato has done is created convenience and transparency. Foxconn makes Apple's product. Apple doesn't make their product.
So every founder has to add this into their KPIs.
I would love that, right? So
Amazing.
That's my passion.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Dare to Begin. Today we have an incredible guest joining us, Rohit Dev, a true veteran in the business world. He's a founder of Ideas91 and he has spent decades building and scaling brands working with some of the largest names in the world, including some of the Fortune 500s. So he has built over 100 products across 20 plus markets and created one of the most efficient procurement and distribution networks in the entire world. But what makes Rohit's story so inspiring is how his focus has evolved over the time. And today, he's not just about scaling businesses, he's all about creating happiness within organizations. He believes that success is not just about profits, it's about well being of employees, customers, and communities. He's pioneering the concept of happiness metrics, which I can't wait to explore with him. In this episode, we'll talk about his incredible journey, his take on the D2C boom in India, and how he's helping companies grow with purpose and empathy. It's going to be a fascinating conversation, so let's get started. It's a great pleasure for me to have you, sir, on the podcast. And the most interesting aspect is that I can see the curiosity in you, like a beginner. Like you have been very kind enough to give me a lot of inputs regarding how things should be in terms of being an entrepreneur, and there are certain simple but more effective things that you have said. It's more obvious, but we have never thought about it. I personally, as an entrepreneur, I missed very basic things, like let's say we talked about customer success metrics and how we track that. So I have a lot of questions, and let's keep it very conversational. Most of my audience are from south part of India. I do it in Tamil language. Occasionally I do it in English or Hindi required. So I would like to, I request you to introduce yourself, because you are, I know you and a lot of people in the business domain know you very well. Why don't you introduce you? Because a lot of my audience are college students and aspiring entrepreneurs or starting their entrepreneurial career. So would love to hear from you.
Thank you, Arjun. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Very grateful. Wishing all your listeners a very, very happy 2025. I always say everything that you do, you should enjoy and you should feel happy. So that's in a gist of what I stand for today. But I'll introduce myself, as you said. I can't speak South Indian, but I wish I knew it was Tamil. I would have learned 1 or 2 lines and come. But in Malayalam, I know Unrandamoolanala.
So it's in Tamil also it's same. Like it's
okay.
almost one and one.
Right. So that I've learned being in Dubai for 25 years, working with a lot of people from Kerala. Very interesting. I love the Sadiyat Onam. So that's a lot of South Indian influence here. But in terms of business, I came here in Dubai in 1998. I landed here 15 September 98, when Dubai actually was not the Dubai of today. It was a nice city, but it was just starting out. Everything the new Dubai has built in 2001, and I always say that one of the things that has taught me is that if you attach yourself to something that is growing, you will grow exponentially. right? So Dubai as a city grew, and thanks to that, I as an entrepreneur grew and my business grew. Came here in 1998, started in partnership with my uncle, a family business in home appliances called Elekta. We grew that exponentially to $200 million. In 2008, we separated and I started Ideas91 as a company. When we started at that point of time, the flavor of the month was e-commerce, right? So we started a website called spendwiser.com, grew that and sold that in 2014. Then I said, what are my skill sets, right? And I always tell people it's important to, like you wrote in the LinkedIn post, do what you love. So doing what you love, it is important to recognize what you do, what you love to do, right? So I recognize that as a company, we are very good in product development. So we actually can develop great products for the consumer space. So we work in that in an extensive manner. And I always tell everybody I'm a salesman by heart, so I love to sell, right? So I think a lot of entrepreneurs either need to be great salespeople or they need to have great salespeople in the team.
Okay.
Because if sales is one of the strongest pillars of any entrepreneurial journey, right? Today, whether that's digital, so if you're doing sales digitally, then you do need those skill sets, right? So I'm not talking about just person to person selling, but any kind of selling, you should have the skill set, right? And in the journey, and I think I was telling you that during COVID, I lost two very, very dear friends. And then I said, when you look at what they've left behind a lot of wealth, but what have they left behind? So then I said, while working, we spend close to half our lives working. So I created something called the Happiness Playbook. Yeah. And I said, how do you create happiness while working? If you do Google, first 10 pages about happiness is employee happiness. If you do happiness in organizations, you'll see employee happiness.
Yes.
So as an entrepreneur, you say, yes, you can keep your employees happy for some time. How do you keep your employees happy all the time? For that, there are 4 pillars that I've created, and that's the happiness playbook.
We'll discuss in detail about that, because that was one of the very interesting part. Being such a veteran in the industry, like you have seen it all across, I would say, the internet era, and now the Gen Zs and the millennials, and now the era of quick commerce, and there is so many things happening in the D2C space. But keeping the business aside, the point that you have mentioned about keeping people around you happy, the community happy, like I read somewhere you mentioned about you have to ensure that your employees' family is recommending you to somebody else. That was very interesting, because a lot of people don't think like that. Like being an entrepreneur, like after being in the space, only now we have started, ensuring that people are sane and they are putting their minds together, starting to think a lot. Where do they come from? Like what is their background? Like what kind of problems they go through on a daily basis? That's where I thought more than a business podcast, this could be, because a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with it. When they start with, they are always going behind valuation, they always going behind like making the money or sustaining, like in a lot of the case where, let's say in my case, like I'm a bootstrap company, like it's all about circling things and like getting every day going, and the roller coaster thing that you have mentioned also, like the ride is always like that. In a situation like this, stepping away and seeing things in a broader way, we all need that maturity as an entrepreneur, I feel like, and I would like to have more from that.
So you touched on a few points, and I'll come to each point. The first is Bootstrapped. I've always run a bootstrap company. Actually, the first company that I started in 1998 with my uncle had actually gone bankrupt out of Japan.
Okay.
And when we came here, we had a lot of debts. So it wasn't even bootstrapped, it was minus, right? So, in today's entrepreneurial age, a lot of people say, oh, I need to raise capital. I think capital follows you if you have the right business. So because of so much money in the system, a lot of people think, oh, I can get money, I'll get money, and then I'll create a successful business. The way I look at it, you start creating a successful business and the money will follow you. How do you create a successful business? Like I said, so happiness is very important. And I'm sure you've read and everybody's read, it's about defining your purpose, right? If you define your organization's purpose, what it wants to do, then you are able to attract the talent of, so supposing you have a company in the digital space, right? What is the purpose of your organization? What do you want to do? Say running this podcast, what do you want to achieve? You want to actually create a lot of value for the startup ecosystem by bringing entrepreneurs like me for that, right? Now supposing someone who joins you loves this, he or she will be so much more passionate to create this value.
Yeah.
Versus someone who just joins it as a job, then it doesn't work, right? The second thing that you spoke about is that I write about happiness of the family members. So that's actually, I'm actually IPing that thing. So every company takes a survey of its team members, but they don't take a survey of the family members of the team members. I always say the family members of the team members give you the best inputs in life. So very important to understand, and it should be anonymous. It should not feel that they're being, and as a leader, any feedback you take, you have to respond to. You can't run away from that.
Right. So in terms of understanding the community, like let's say a lot of people, like especially the first generation entrepreneurs, they go through a lot of struggle because initially they have capital problem. Let's say even if they bootstrap and like start circulating money and they build a business to a level, because I'm in the services business, because I see a lot of my colleagues or like other entrepreneurs going through a same struggle, right? Like that is people, like because services business is usually a people driven business where you get great people and then they give you great work and then you add great value to the customers that you work with. So one of the major struggles I've been facing in this entire space was finding talent. Finding talent, you mean talents who are as passionate as you for building that strong basement for your company. And initially I thought I should create like 10 other people like me who are equally driven, probably getting equal, probably the growth from the company as well. But later I realized not just 10 people, I am expecting every individual to have the same ethos as I do or what I expect from the team. But practically it is not possible. Like we cannot expect everyone to function like the way with the founder mindset or the owner's mindset. So how is it possible? Like I'm really curious to know how great organizations are built, or is it only the core team that needs to spread that? How do you make it reflect with every individual or attract talents exactly the way you want?
So again, very, very great question. And that's a struggle every company faces. The largest of companies face a talent issue, right? It's not, if you see today, I think Swiggy or Zomato, Swiggy was losing their top talent recently. So issue is losing talent is something that all organizations go through. But coming back to the first part of it, as a founder, you should not expect anyone else to have a founder's mindset or attitude. As a founder, what you need to do is define what your organization stands for, the purpose, not the profit. If you've defined the purpose, then you start attracting people who love the purpose. Okay? But it is possible in 3 years they stop loving that purpose and they move on. So you shouldn't feel bad about that. So very important is to define your purpose and attract the talent. What kind of talent should you attract? Is not a founder's mindset, but you should attract talent that complements you. So supposing you are very good at, say, business development, and you say that I want somebody great at creative. So what happens when a great creative guy comes and joins you, and you do not have, you have that skill set, but you do not have that skill set to the level he has. You respect him, you give him the opportunity to grow, and he loves the work because he's the one then becoming the founder of that creative part, but he doesn't have the founder mindset to set up the business. So I'm not sure if you're understanding, right?
Yeah.
So attracting talent is also about engaging them. How
Right.
do you engage them?
Yeah.
If you give them an opportunity to excel in what they love to do, okay, is very important. The second aspect is a lot of people say, and this is a fact, 95% of people globally cannot join jobs of what they love to do, right? So they have to start loving what they do.
Okay.
Yeah. How do they start loving what they do? I'll give you an example. In MIT, there was a research done around happiness. Okay, they did a research on 30,000 staff members over a period, and they asked, "Are you happy in the profession?" Can you imagine the same profession had the people who were the happiest and the people who were extremely unhappy? So they bifurcated those people who were very happy and put them in a room, and the remaining they put in another room who were extremely unhappy. They asked, so this was people who are in the hospital, either working with the patients, cleaning it, or cleaning the rooms, etc. The people who were extremely unhappy were asked, "What is your profession?" Guess what they replied?
Cleaners.
Right? Then they put the people in the room who were extremely happy.
Okay.
And they asked them, what is their profession? They're doing the same job. Both of them are doing the same job. What did they reply?
Saving lives or like
Healers.
healers. Okay.
So one said I'm a cleaner, one said I'm a healer.
Okay. Same
Just
job.
imagine, same job, same function, same thing. How did they start loving it? Because they felt there's a purpose behind their work.
Right.
Now, what did this research do? Then they said, let's test. For 6 months, they put the people who thought themselves as cleaners into a training, daily talking about how they are helping heal people.
Okay.
After 6 months, when these people came out of the training, they did a research after 2 years again, and these people were all at the highest level of happiness. So
Amazing.
think about it, right? So what is it doing? It's moving people from unhappiness to happiness by defining the purpose of your job that resonates with the person.
Amazing. So it's not always about money. That
Yeah.
is something I would like to ask you that because most of the people associate, like especially the youngsters that I interview, a lot of people who are driven by purpose, they ask right questions. But people who think money is the end goal, like though they are talented, I've seen some of the best profiles. We have offered them what they expect and like given everything, but the longevity with the team was very difficult because people already in the system are driven with a purpose and not just focused on money. So what do you think about it? Like how should youngsters look at choosing a job? Because there is peer pressure, there is expectations from the family and the surroundings while getting into a job, like be it any job, like be it IT, creative, design, or even blue collar jobs. Like what do you think? Like how people should choose the right path for themselves?
So there are, Maslow's theory, right? So there's money is important, right? So one cannot run away from the fact that money is not important. I always tell people, especially the younger generation, money is very important. I know a lot of people, my HR comes and tells me they're saying they're not worried about the money. I said, tell them to start worrying about the money. Because today they may not worry about the money, but after 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, they'll start worrying about the money, and then there'll be an issue. So you start worrying about the money from day one. So don't not worry about the money. But what's important is that if you enjoy what you do, then money will be exponential, not small. So you have to then say, your question was, people who are going into the workforce, what should they look at?
Yeah.
They should look at, like I said, I was very successful because I was part of the Dubai journey. In the Dubai journey, there were many. So in the product business, we are very large suppliers to a lot of retailers in the region, Carrefour, Lulu, etc. So what happened was they grew and we grew, right? Because Dubai grew, they grew, and we grew, right? So you have to identify when you're talking to the organization, is this organization on a growth path or not? Does this organization have a great purpose that resonates with me or not? Are they going to become very large in the space if that's what I want? On that, there's another company, there's a very dear friend of mine, and this is an extreme example. Extreme example. I studied with him, and he said, in Harvard, so I studied at Harvard, they call, so there are growth businesses and there are lifestyle businesses. What is a lifestyle business? Lifestyle business is a founder runs the business, he's enjoying. So if you go to Goa, they will, and this was an experience we had as college students. We went to Goa, we went to an alcohol shop, 10 of us went, we bought everything. When we were going out, and this was at 12 in the 12 noon, he came out and he shut the shutter. We said, why are you shutting the shutter? He said, I've made my money for the next 3 days. I will not open the shop for the next 3 days. So that's a lifestyle business. Now, an extreme example, what my friend did, he started a consultancy out of the US, and he said, I will shut the company, I'll give holidays the day we make twice the income of our expense. So if my expense is $10, the day I touch a revenue of $20, I will shut the company. Many people go after sales, last day, 30th, 31st, right? What he said was the reverse. As a team, our expense is 10. The day we touch $20, we will have holidays for the rest of the month. Okay. In 2008, he had 7 people, and he was shutting the company on the 28th of each month. Okay, 28th, 29th, right? So they were just close by. Currently, he has more than 100 people, and he shuts the company by 18th of every month. So imagine, that's a lifestyle business.
Yeah.
They shut for 12 days every month. How many companies will do that? Right? So it's
very interesting.
It's how you think. And again, that's defined by what you want, not what somebody else wants. There's this thing about 70-hour work week, etc. Right? So I always say, if you define that, people say it's not good, it's bad.
Yeah.
I say there's a concept called perseveres truth. What you perceive is important, right? Now, if you as a founder want long working hours, you have to define that, and your HR has to define that when recruiting people. There are lots of companies, the global consulting companies, they work very long hours, but they define it when you recruit the person. So the people know this.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to define what your organization stands for clearly. If you define that, then getting the right talent is far easier. Right? Because what happens is, as founders, sometimes people come and say, supposing you're a 6-day, and I've seen that in India, you're a 6-day working organization, you get great talent, he says, I want to work only 5 days. So you say, okay, for you, I'll make an exception. The moment you start making exceptions, there's a cultural shift.
Right.
The cultural shift, it's not your culture. Then you start getting unhappy. I gave him 5 days, but he's doing this, that, right? So you have to define your culture clearly as a founder. And if you're joining a company, you have to understand the founder's culture very clearly before you join. If you understand that and you say, this resonates with me, you'll grow exponentially.
Because a lot of problems that we are facing, especially in the Indian subcontinent, is that everybody is in the urge to get a job. Like, even if I go back 10 years and see, when I was completing my college, the pressure was such that I wanted to just get a job. Like, I don't have that mindset to even think like what is right for me. But I think now the awareness is better. Even college students are like figuring out what they exactly want, which is a good thing. So there are two different parts, right? Like, there are people who really want to do something but have no clue where to start, how to do. They are in a place where whatever job I'll get, I'll just go and do it. On the other side, people who come with little privilege, let's say let's say parents who are already working or they have that kind of understanding, they kind of take a break after their career, completing their college education, especially in the circle that I know. I'm saying because I see two different set of people. One, the people who actually need a job, they need money to survive and get a job and move forward. And two, people who can actually take a break and figure out what exactly they want, either in a college while they're doing their education, or probably they have got into a job, they figured out it's not working out for them, and then moving out. In my case, that's what happened. Like I figured out after working for a couple of years, I said like, hey, this is not my calling, and I had to quit and go behind somewhere where there also there was no clue. Like I just quit my job and started figuring out, okay, I am a creative person by say like, what should I do next? I had my savings after working for 3 years. I had support from my family, but that's not the case with everyone. So how do they do, like, because the purpose and all this process comes in when they are settled with what the basic thing is there.
Yeah.
So what do you suggest for such people?
I think this is a great thought, but the first thing is what you said. I came to know what I want to do. I say I still don't know what I want to do. Okay. Right? So what happens is you keep progressing in life. So the issue is not that you should say, oh, there's a eureka moment, I know what I want to be. There's no eureka moment, right? It is a process. So a person who has to get a job should get a job, but again, looking at the organization and understanding does it culturally fit is important. Okay? If it's not, I do believe that you will be. So I talk so much about happiness, right? If you're unhappy, can you keep someone else happy?
No.
So if you're unhappy, will your boss be happy with you?
No.
Right? And then what happens is conflict starts. So you have to identify, and I understand there are various stratas of people in India. Again, I say, so what I say is do a hard stop. Say in 90 days, I will join a job without fail. On the 90th day, whatever I get, I'll join. But in 90 days, at least, I will evaluate. The second thing I tell people is, supposing you want to be in the advertising space, okay? As you want to work in the advertising space. Do the people actually list down 20? So if you have to do sales, what do? You list down the companies, then you go after them. Same thing for if you want to join in some space. List down in your city top 20 companies, 10 new companies, interview with all 30. Okay. They say they don't call me for an interview. I say like sales. What happens in sales? You go and sit there. You go and sit there and say, I want to meet the HR. If you actually want to join something, you'll do it.
Yeah.
Why would you not do it? And keep a hard stop on 90th day. I will join.
That awareness is important.
Right.
Like what that evaluation process will give you an understanding.
What people actually do is the reverse. They go to say a Naukri, etc. 100 jobs are posted. They put their CV in all the 100 jobs, waiting for an interview call. It should be reverse. You should say, you don't know your purpose, you don't know, but you know the industry you want to work in or the function you want to work in. Say you want to work in the sales function. Then who are the best sales organizations? Where will I learn the best? Do I want to learn digital sales? Do I want to learn offline sales? And then say, go and meet those people and map that. Right? That's the important part. And that's the way I would do it. Very few people do it, but anybody who does this process, I can assure you will create a lot of happiness for themselves and create a lot of growth for themselves.
Great. So a lot of information about how the recruitment process and should happen. Like I got to know a lot. Like now I want to ask something about your core of how you have helped a lot of companies, including Fortune 500 companies, establish brands. So how do you see the current D2C space compared to the pre-internet era? Like how business has evolved, and especially people who are building brands, irrespective of whether it is a retail brand, a D2C, anything, right? Like I can see a lot of new age brands coming and competing with global brands like, let's say, HUL or ITC, and these brands are acquiring. And recently I read a news that one of the biggest giants like the HUL is acquiring another D2C brand which is doing really
The beauty brand.
the minimalist. So very interesting, right? Like somebody who is coming and building a business for, like, let's say, a couple of years and being acquired by the global giants. So how do you see this? And
I think consumer space is very exciting. We work with over 150 over 150 D2C organizations in India and across the world, more than 300 organizations. I think it's a very exciting time because, like I said, 25 years back when I started out, there was not so much money available to grow or create a business. Today there is money available. So if your idea is right and your product is right, you can create a lot of value. Like you said, we've helped a lot of organizations, some of the top organizations, like you said, Fortune 500, in creating products. I can't take the name of the company, but I'll give you an example. One Fortune 500 company, they have over 12,000 people in their product department, and they were catering predominantly to Europe and America. They wanted to enter the emerging markets, Africa and India, and they wanted to launch a fan. They actually spoke to us that we want a fan within this product, this price range and this product technologies, this quality specs. We actually developed it, and it's now become close to a $10 million business for them in the emerging markets in a year, right? So it's something that we do in helping companies develop products. We're working with very large D2C companies in helping them develop products. Now I say all the time, it is, I think, one of the greatest time to be in the product space. But again, you have to define what your brand stands for. If you don't define what your brand stands for, you will not be able to grow or create value. I've seen a lot of brands very clearly want to do everything. Now that's the tough one. You can't be everything for everybody. In the consumer space also, you have to say, who do I want to target this to? Who's my customer, and what is the product I want to sell? What's the pricing? What's the packaging? What's the innovation I will do ultimately, maybe not today, so that I can grow exponentially. We work with a lot of companies in product development, and now attaching ourselves on the happiness playbook, we help them grow their sales channels, etc. But a lot of D2C people are not offline, so we help them go offline. We have very good relationships in the offline space. We've actually created some of the largest brands in the offline space across the world, right?
So one interesting question I wanted to break, like there are so many D2C brands, and some of the most successful brands that I personally know, I feel as a marketer, it is branded really well. The communication, the purpose, or the messaging of the overall brand was bang on, and they were very particularly targeting one particular niche. And there are businesses which I still see in my vicinity that they have a great product. They are actually giving something which even some of the big brands are not able to, but they are not able to actually communicate, market. And it's a great product, but it is not positioned or like marketed right. But it has all the potential to grow. On the other hand, let's say...
that's where you come in, right?
Yeah, that's where I come in. And there are people who are branding it really well, but the product is like a good product. It's not like a great product, but because of the branding and marketing, they go to a different level. Like, let's say, what is the longevity of some brand? Being a marketer, like, I'm really curious to know, because you have seen huge brands grow or like fall, like, you must have seen a lot of...
There are two aspects, right? So branding is critical for success for a consumer business, is critical, okay? But product, you have to be on top of product. People who have failed, examples of Nokia and BlackBerry are very, very obvious, right? BlackBerry and Nokia have failed to recognize what the market was moving towards.
Right.
So building a brand, it's critical for success. Without building a brand in the consumer space, you will not be able to succeed. You will not be able to grow exponentially. But you also have to be on top of understanding, is the consumer using my product? which comes to customer happiness. Is the customer happy with my product? Am I creating value for the customer or not? So you have to analyze. If only one is working, very difficult to succeed.
Right.
Okay? If the product is great, it may succeed with huge word of mouth, but not easy. If branding is great, it may succeed because slowly it gets to what the customer wants. But if you want to create huge success, you have to create a product that a customer needs. You have to define who your customer is. And does he need that or does he not need that?
Right.
Okay, for example, in our procurement business, we say what is the most important that the customer needs. Okay, now everybody, for example, now is got used to tracking their orders for food online. We now actually have all our procurement business being tracked online for any customer. He can come and see when it's getting produced, when it's getting shipped, where it will reach, right? So earlier this was not needed. Customers were happy. Right now, they've got used to this instant information, instant gratification. So they need to know.
Yeah.
So as a company, we have actually grown exponentially by doing this. Because people get transparency. They love it. And who created the transparency? Zomato. Today, for example, if you go to any restaurant and you call them directly and you say, I will not buy through Zomato, they will give you a discount.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But what Zomato has done is created convenience and transparency.
True.
In the restaurant, you'll order, you'll call him. He'll say, yes, he's arriving.
Yeah.
You don't know when he's arriving. In Zomato, you know when it's arriving.
So people are ready to pay a price for convenience.
People are ready to pay if you understand their pain point and solve for their pain point, whatever is their pain point. Okay. You have to identify what your brand stands for. Right? There's boat and there's noise. What's the difference between the two? Right? So they actually targeted different markets, and how they targeted is a very good case study to understand.
Right.
Right. And in terms of fitness in India, there's Flexness, there's Bold Fit, right? So
different brands.
Brands catering to different markets.
So understanding, like let's say one group of people want very price focused, and other is like more of quality focused. So is it?
Yeah.
There is a market for everything, is what you're saying.
In India especially, and even today we are at 8 billion people. How many people are in the top 10% or top 5% richest, right? So there's a need for all products. Okay, there is no second thing about it. There is a need for an entry level. So pickle and paddle is growing exponentially, right? Pickle in India is growing, paddle in the Middle East is growing. Okay, we're actually talking to people how I don't need pickle to play in a court. How can I? So we're actually creating a mobile pickle court, so they can actually put the net and everything and play on the streets.
Nice. Okay.
Right. So you create those products to understand, right? And that's why I love the product space, because we love to understand what the consumer is consuming and why he is consuming. Alpino, a peanut butter. I don't know if you know.
Yes.
The 6 founders, they've grown exponentially just by focusing on the vegetarian consumer who needs to consume much more protein than they usually do.
Right.
They're exponentially growing, and they just got Shilpa Shetty as a brand ambassador, right? So it's great stories like these that in India are creating a lot of success.
So you have worked with a lot of big companies, small companies, startups who you have helped them procure great raw materials, or procured different kind of products across the industry. So what should a founder focus? Let's say today a young founder in Bangalore or in Chennai or even in small towns in India, like they are starting to build a brand. What should be their focus, and what are the things they should probably get support from, let's say, other people like you, let's say, because there is different segments of business. One person cannot focus into manufacturing, cannot focus into, like I can see you have supported some of the largest companies to do it. So what about a small company that is starting up? What kind of resources they should look, support from outside, from experts, and what a founder should core focus? Let's say now I'm going to start a D2C business. I want to probably get into a jewelry business, for example. So I want to start a fashion jewelry and I want to target Gen Zs. So now what should be my focus? And I have no clue where it is getting manufactured. I just know I saw somewhere in internet that, hey, this kind of jewelry is going to work because I see a couple of youngsters in Bombay or Chennai wearing it. So now I want to get it to a larger audience. I want to make a brand out of it. I have no clue about where to get this. I am not a jewelry person. I am a first generation entrepreneur. So what they should do if they have the passion?
So again, what is the passion for? The passion is to launch fashion jewelry. Are they designers or they're not designers? So again, what is their strength? Okay. First is to identify that. It's not necessary that they need to work with people like us if they themselves are able to get it manufactured, right? Or they want to set up manufacturing. So you have to identify what is the thing that you enjoy doing in the business, and then say what is it that then I can outsource. So product, a lot of people say, and because of confidentiality we can't take the names, but the kind of companies that work with us is exponential. And the example that's very easy to do is, who makes Apple's product? Foxconn makes Apple's product. Apple doesn't make their product, right? So why is a big organization like Apple outsourcing? Because Apple believes that branding and distribution reach is what they want to focus on. So in any consumer business, I do believe your distribution reach, which means how am I reaching the customer, how many customers I'm reaching daily, is very important for a company in the product space. If you are able to capture that, then outsourcing product to companies is a no-brainer because it creates a lot of value. Then your time is not going in that. You are able to do it and grow the business.
So considering that you have already mentioned about the happiness metrics, because since I wanted to have that very particular part from you, because you have defined a framework for it that can help a lot of entrepreneurs. So can you please put us awareness?
So like I said, I created the happiness playbook thanks to the fact that I lost two dear friends, and I said, what is it that we can create for businesses with our experience? So I've created the happiness playbook, which I say it's all about people, but not just about employees. Okay, so what you need to do as the leadership team or as the founder is create the purpose of the organization. You have to get into a room. A lot of people we work with, a lot of people say, oh, our top leadership is aligned. I say, okay, let's do this exercise. Call your 3, 4, 5, whoever the top leaders are, into a room. Let's write down what you people are doing, what's your purpose, and where you will be in 3 years and 5 years. There is not a single time I have done this exercise that two answers are matching. Not a single time. Okay. So just imagine. And a lot of people say we are aligned. We have the same dream. But when you write it down and you see it, it's not. So I say get into a room, create this purpose. Make everyone understand. So supposing everybody is written different, then you do an exercise to all of you to come onto the same page. When you're on the same page, that's what has to percolate down to the whole company. Okay. The second aspect is engagement. Recruit people who love your passion, love what you're doing, are aligned to what you want to achieve. If they are engaged, they will even work at much lower salaries than the market because they're creating value. Ultimately, they will want more than the market, right? So if you expect people will continue to work at a lower salary, that will not happen. For a founder, in the beginning, it's important to get people who are aligned. But then you have to be fair and make them grow if you are growing as well.
Yes.
Then the next aspect is, so the first is purpose. And this purpose, you have to align the top leadership and shareholders. Everything, whether it's culture, whether it's purpose. Culture means we will work 6 days a week, or we expect to work 12 hours a day or 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day. That culture has to be defined. Then the team itself has to create. When you recruit, you create for understanding whether that person will enjoy this job or not.
Right.
Okay, so for example, we do product innovation. Product innovation for some people is a very boring business. For some people, they want to actually understand what are the components, etc., etc. So we actually recruit to understand how many people enjoy going into the details. Okay, so if you understand that they love to go into the details, they would be the right fit.
Right.
Because they want to actually see what is the wire made of, etc., etc. So there are 4 pillars. The first pillar is alignment, this alignment in the top leadership. The second pillar is team engagement. The third pillar is customer happiness and success. So for example, your customer has bought a product, say in the fitness space, right? So they've bought a dumbbell. Now, are you able to cross-sell other products to him because he's happy with your product or not, is what you have to start evaluating.
Right.
Is my current customer repeating with me? Because current customer repeating with you is the largest source of big profit. Because if you have to keep finding a new customer every day, there's a cost of acquiring a customer.
Right.
So therefore, you don't make too much money if you have to keep acquiring. As a business to grow, you have to acquire customers. But your current customer repeat business is very important to evaluate. How do you evaluate that? Are they happy with your services or product? How are they using it? How can you make them happier is the important part.
Right.
And the final part, fourth part, is the community. What is the community talking about your business? How you are, what do they say? Is the product good, not good? What is it, etc. So if you focus on all these 4 pillars, how you as a founder should focus, and I always tell people, if you're not a very large company, you should focus on each of these pillars 1 day a week for 1 hour and say, how is my company focusing on this and what can I make them happen? Right? And it'll create the results, right? So that's about the happiness playbook. Very passionate. We are actually creating the happiness index, which we hope by 2028, companies measure sales and profit every month. We hope that they also start measuring the happiness index every month.
So every founder has to add this into their KPIs.
That I would love that, right? So
amazing.
That's my passion.
So I really value your time, and I know that you're really constrained with the time, but the point is I would love to have a lot of conversations with you, especially today we have just touched upon Ideas91, and I would love to know more about Peak and RD, where you are actually changing the way the kitchen utensils are. That's something I wanted to add. Like if you want to quickly conclude about your entire
as a brand, we have a brand called RD, which we are selling in close to 17 countries today. Its aim is to remove plastics from any food and water, anything that gets heated, because that is actually harmful for the person. So the brand stands for health and safety. This is our in-house brand that we've created, and we market it across certain geographies. But we're trying to do lots of things and enjoying the journey. The important part, like I said, I'd love to end with saying one thing. You should be so excited to wake up in the morning and enjoy what you do. Nobody can stop your success. If that is the case, nobody can stop your success.
Amazing. So that's a great note to end with. Like you have every day has to be excitement. So that's something, if everybody is focusing on, that's a great thing. And I also want to add that one part towards the end, like which you mentioned, either love what you do or love what you love or love what you do. So that's something.
Both are important.
Both are important. Amazing. Thank you for your time. I would love to continue this conversation, and for somebody like me, looking upon people like you is it's really inspiring, and looking forward to learn a lot from somebody like you. So it's a great honor to have you on Dare to Begin.
Thank you, Arjun. Very kind words. But like I say, I love to learn from everyone. I'm learning a lot from you as well. So learning should never stop, right? So, and thank you so much for having me, and wishing you all the best for huge happiness and success.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So thank you for watching this video, and I hope you guys have learned something out of this particular podcast. You can always grow when you are ready to learn, and the excitement will keep continuing when you are enjoying whatever you're doing in your day-to-day. So with that, we are ending this particular conversation. Stay tuned for more such interesting conversations and Dare to Begin. Cheers.